Assalamu alaikum. Hope you are doing well and great. Here is Zinat Fatima and I am going to tell you about parts of thesis. Before parts of thesis, we have to know about the word the thesis. So, what is a thesis? A proposition stated or put forward for consideration, especially one to be discussed and proved or to be maintained against objections. He vigorously defended his thesis on the causes of war, a subject for a composition or essay, a dissertation on a particular subject in which one has done original research as one presented by a candidate for diploma or degree. Here are the main topic that is parts of a thesis. Title page, approval sheet, abstract, acknowledgement, dedication, table of contents, list of tables, list of figures. So, what is the title page? The following information needs to be on the title page. The title of your thesis, first name and surname of the author, whether it is a bachelor's thesis or a master's thesis, faculty and department, place and date of completion. Approval sheet. This is to prove that the authors have passed the requirements needed for the thesis. This is signed by the thesis, FS advisor, panel, and the dean. This also states the grade obtained by the author. Abstract. An abstract presents a brief summary of your thesis. The aim of the abstract is to briefly provide the reader with the most important information from the entire text. An abstract never contains new information. This summary is no longer than 2 pages of A4. Acknowledgement. This is a page focused on expressing gratitude to organizations, agencies, or individuals who, in one way or another, have aided the researchers in finishing the thesis. Dedication. This is the page for dedicating the thesis to certain people or groups who have inspired the researchers while doing the thesis. Table of contents. The table of contents is essentially a topic outline of the thesis. It is compiled by listing the headings in the thesis down to whichever level you choose. List of tables, list of figures. Include a list of figures, illustrations, and a list of tables if you have one or more items in these categories. Use a separate page for each list. List the number, caption, and page number of every figure and table in the body of thesis. And this is the introduction and background of the study. Chapter 1. Let's start the Chapter 1. Title of chapters. Problem and its background. Review of related literatures and studies. Methodology of the study. Presentation, analysis, and interpretation of data. Summary, conclusion, and recommendation. Significance of the study. The significance of the study will mainly focus on this question: who will benefit from the study? This section will state the contribution of your study and the usefulness of your study in the society. Statement of the problem. The problem must be reflected to your title, or the readers must know your problem by just simply reading your topic. The problem must not be answerable by yes or no, and must be arranged in the flow of your documentation or study. Definition of terms. The definition of terms must be arranged in alphabetically. It must to be also stated if you used your definition of terms in technically or operationally. Chapter 2. Review of related literature and studies. Related literature. In this part, you must get your data and information from any books, magazines, and newspapers. You must label your published materials with local or foreign. Must be also organized to cover specific problems. Must take all the evidences about the problem with the author's experiences. As much as possible, get the latest published materials. Avoid old published materials. It must be related to your topic. If not, do not get it. On the last part of this part, you must have a statement how this old published materials helps the researcher in their current study and relate it to your study. Chapter 3. Methodology of the study. Research design. The appropriate research design should be specified and described. Research instruments. Describe the instruments and what it will measure. State qualification of informats if used in study. Validation procedure. Discuss how the validity and the reliability will be established. Specify the level of reliability, probability. Chapter 4. Presentation, analysis and interpretation of data. Presentation of data. Presents the findings of the study in the order of the specific problem as stated in the statement of the problem. Present the data in these forms: tabular, textual, graphical. Analysis of data. Data may be analyzed quantitatively or qualitatively depending on the level of measurement and the number of dimensions and variables of the study. Analyze in depth to give meaning to the data presented in the table. Avoid table reading. State statistical descriptions in declarative sentences, for example, in the studies involving interpretation of data. Establish interconnection between and among data. Check for indicators whether hypotheses are supported or not by findings. Link the present findings with the previous literature. Use parallel observations with contemporary events to give credence presented in the introduction. Chapter 5. Summary of findings, conclusions and recommendations. Summary of findings. This describes the problem, research design and the findings. Answer to the question raised. The recommended format is the paragraph form instead of the enumeratic form. For each of the problems, present the salient findings, the result of the hypothesis tested. Conclusions. These are brief generalized statements in answer to the general and each of the specific subproblems. These contain generalized in relation to the population. These are general inferences applicable to a wider and similar population. Flexibility is considered in making of conclusions. It is not a must to state conclusion on a one-to-one correspondence with the problems and the findings, as all variables can be subsummed in one paragraph. Conclusions may be used as generalization from a micro to a macro level or vice versa. Thank you so much.